Welcome to Phoenix Healing Podcast, where mental health is our number one priority, featuring Liam Z. Muniz. Enjoy. Hello, my beautiful souls. Welcome to Phoenix Healing Podcast, where mental health is our number one priority, with your host, Liam Z. Muniz. Hello, hello. So this is episode, 14? 13, 14? I'm low-key losing count, but welcome to this week's episode. I hope you're feeling fantastic, and if you're not, I hope that our energy exchange can alleviate some of that pain, okay? In this episode, I wanted to sit down and talk about kind of my journey so far in voicing my internal world. And girl, it's the large one. It's the big one. It's definitely been a fucking roller coaster of an experience when it comes to understanding my internal world, building it, creating a safe space for myself and still being able to voice that and express it, So we're going to sit down and talk about it today. But of course, before we begin, we're going to start some affirmations, some intuitive affirmations so that we may ground ourselves in our most authentic energy and connect as organically as possible. So without further ado, I'd actually like us to start by taking a deep breath together just to hone down into our natural essence before I begin the affirmation. So we're going to take a deep breath, hold it for 4 seconds, and then exhale. You guys ready? Ready? Okay, let's take a deep breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. And release all the bullshit. All right, so I'm going to start with the affirmations now. Just focus on your breath for me, okay? Everything will be okay. It is okay for me to say no. It is okay for me to take some time away. It is okay for me to want to be alone. I am safe here. I acknowledge my internal world. I acknowledge my emotions. I acknowledge my thoughts. I acknowledge my body. I acknowledge the signs that my mind, body, soul, and spirit give me every single day. I take in my energy and I protect it. I am the guardian of my own heart. I am the guardian of my energy. I am the guardian of my mind. So everything will be okay. And in those moments when I don't feel the best, I know that I will be okay. And I know that it is okay to not be okay. And I will not judge myself. I hold compassion for myself. I hold a space of safety for myself. I allow myself to ground myself in this essence of love and grace because it is okay for me to feel safe with myself. It is okay for me to want to be alone. It is okay for me to rest. It is okay for me to take some time away. I feel like I had to repeat that one. I'm okay right now in this moment. Mwah. Kissy for you, see? All right, so honestly, we're just gonna get into it because this has been something that I feel I've been tested on a lot, especially when it comes to honing in and grounding myself in my individuality and still being able to be around other people and still be that individual and express myself as I am, right? So let's talk about it. How can we voice this internal world? Our internal world is our experience. I believe that this human experience isn't just what we experience outside of ourselves, but it's the internal world, the internal experience that actually matters through my perspective, right? Because everything that we see outside of ourselves is a reflection and projection of some kind of internal world, right? Everything that is man-made first started internally as a feeling or a thought or an idea, and then it was created and manifested into the physical aspect of our lives. So your internal world is life. It is your world. It is what matters. It is what you see and what you feel and everything that is true. Your internal world is your reality. And so for me, I don't know, I felt that it was kind of difficult to understand my internal world because I always almost I was like a little chameleon and I tried to blend in with everyone and everything around me. And I mentioned this a lot in a lot of my other episodes, so I'm not going to get too deep into it and kind of repeat myself, but just to state that I always took everything around me and I used it as puzzle pieces to building myself. And it wasn't so much like, oh, you inspire me, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. No, it was more so, I don't know what I want. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I need. So I'm just going to do what this person is doing. You know, monkey see, monkey do kind of energy. That's the space that I used to be in. And now that I've given myself the time and the space and the love and the acknowledgement to become my own person, to dress the way that I want to dress and express the way that I want to express, or to simply view the world through my eyes and accept that this is how I see life. I see life as a fucking fairy tale. Like everything is so magical to me. And I always try to find, the magical essence in every little thing, every little detail, everything around me. And for a long time, I kind of pushed that away because I'm like, well, you're being childish. Like, get that energy out of here, Because I was so used to being around people who were always serious, or, they were just like, I need to get this done and this has to be done and there's no time for play. More work than play. I'm someone, I like to play. Like, I keep that balance of work and play, but I like to play, and I acknowledge that now. I allow myself to take those moments of rest and periods of not really creating with the intention of having it be like this big thing, like simply doing what I want to do, like sit down, play video games, sitting down and drawing or sculpting, like doing things that are an expressive form of my playful energy and my inner child, right? And that's an expression, that's you voicing that internal world, that magical aspect of you. And so when I try to create things, and even here with the podcast or when I'm doing motivational speaking, I try not to be like super serious and like, this is what you do, this is what I did, this is this and this and that. Like I try to throw in my little hints of little jokes or just playful energy into it, because that's me voicing my internal world, right? And there are moments when I catch myself and I'm like, I feel like I'm being too serious right now. Like, I feel like I'm being too super boss lady. Like I'm a brick wall right now. Like, and really that's not me. Like, yes, I'm about my business in a sense of I stay in this energy of being proactive and using my energy and my time wisely, and being appreciative of the passion that I hold within me. I'm that kind of person, but I'm more free flowing. Like, my river is not a straight stream, and I don't think anyone's river is a straight stream. I think we're all like a coalition of loops and twists and turns and dips and high ends, like so many different things. And when we force that straight stream, it's not going to flow as naturally, right? So when you're voicing your internal world, really pay attention to, who am I? Like, what fulfills me? What do I think of when I see certain things? Like, for example, for me, when I saw like a bird or something, like two birds, and they're like tweeting at each other, I envision them having a whole ass conversation. In my head, the conversation is happening, like it's like a little cartoon movie or something. Like, that's a reflection of my internal world. So I pay attention to those moments. I pay attention to those details in the ways that I express in the things that I see, because that matters, and when we neglect ourselves from viewing ourselves from such a high place, like, oh yeah, this is cool, like, you did this, like, what, you're unique as fuck, like when we neglect that kind of perspective onto ourselves, and we're like, well, you're boring, don't do that, that's not what everyone else is doing, don't do it, we restrict that natural essence of ourselves. We restrict that magic. We restrict and strip ourselves of what makes us us. And we remove that voice. You're like taking out your own vocal cord every time you tell yourself that you can't say this, you can't do this, you can't express that, you can't wear this. You're removing your voice. And so you're not going to be able to create some kind of expression or voice for your internal world. Your internal world is going to be everything that is different from the rest of the world outside of you, right? because the things outside of you are a reflection of other people as well. It's a mixture of everything. But your expression, the things that you say, the things that you present to the world absolutely do matter. They absolutely do matter, because it's a reflection of the only world that you have, and your world is the only world that is like that. Your internal world is literally one of one. So everything you say from a place of authenticity, it is one of one. Whether people have stated or quoted the same thing, it is still one of one, because it is a reflection of your world. So, for me, my experiences lately have been really paying attention to again, how I view the world, what I feel in certain times, and then taking that in and letting it like simmer up in my body so that I can find the best ways to express that. I allow myself to be playful. That's me expressing that aspect of myself. I allow myself to still be helpful and loving and give advice when it's needed, or be there just as a listening ear. That's me expressing that internal part of myself who is empathic and compassionate and loving towards people and wants to help people, right? That's me creating a voice for it. Even if I'm not saying anything, just me being present in certain moments and present in certain spaces, that's me creating a voice for who I am and what I am. And sometimes that can be difficult, especially in moments when we feel that we might be restricted because everyone else is doing something different. Through my perspective, I used to feel that way. And there are still moments when I feel that way now. So I have to continuously practice and be consistent in the idea that I'm an individual. And even when I'm around other people who are loud and take up space, I can also be loud and take up space at the same time. We can live as individuals simultaneously. We don't have to shrink ourselves so that someone else has space. Fuck that. Fuck you. No, let me stop. But seriously, like, you don't have to become less than what you are. You don't have to silence your voice so that someone else can speak loudly. We can all speak at the same time, and maybe some things will get a little jumbled up, but what matters is that you are speaking. What matters is that you are voicing your internal world. And yes, sometimes it's about keeping that sense of balance in your community and allowing each other to have that space to be appreciated and acknowledged as individuals, but you don't have to silence yourself. As just like I stated before, sometimes you just being present is you voicing who you are, right? Being present at someone's graduation, that those people who are being graduated, they are being highlighted, their space, they're given space so that they can be acknowledged and represented as individuals, right? So you're not going to be in that space, but you just being present and holding your own space for them to be acknowledged through your eyes, you are voicing who you are internally. You are voicing the fact that, hey, I don't need to be up in that stage in order to feel proud, in order to feel fulfilled, in order to feel happy to be here, right? And sometimes I would catch myself where it's like, if someone else is getting that spotlight or something, in my mind, the way that I used to think in the past, it was like, oh, but if I'm not up on that stage, then that means that I'm not valuable, that I'm also not worthy of being acknowledged. And that's completely false. That is a conditioned way of thinking, right? I can still be acknowledged just for being present. Because there are some people who do not show up to people's graduations, who do not show up for people's core memory moments. And those who don't show up, that's a reflection of who they are, right? And if you're still showing up and putting in the efforts and energy to be there, to be present, to be a part of someone else's core memory or great accomplishment, you are voicing the fact that you are a very caring person, that you are loving, that you are a good person and you deserve good things, right? So you don't have to be on stage, you don't have to be at the top of the mountain to be deserving of good things. We all receive our blessings in different ways, and they come in different forms, and it's never going to look exactly the same. So someone's trophy or certificate could be their prize of completion and whatever. And for you just simply being there to witness that that could be your blessing, because it can inspire you, right? It can surge some passion, some happiness, some love, or whatever for that person, or even for yourself in your life. And that can also help your internal world. So we are continuously still receiving good things in our lives. We're continuously receiving blessings, but it's all about how are you viewing it, and creating a voice for your internal world. It can be a bit difficult, but at the same time, I feel that it's also pretty simple. And in my mind, I like to overcomplicate a lot of things from overthinking. So when I say it's difficult for me through that perspective, it's because, there's so many aspects of your internal world, right? And that's true. There are so many levels of who you are and what makes you what you are. But to put it in a much more simple way of acknowledging that voice is who I am, how I feel, and what I am right now in the moment is all that needs to be expressed. That's it. I don't need to worry about what am I going to be in the future, about career things, about what do I do artistically, creatively, what are my perspectives, all these different things. All you have to worry about are how am I feeling right now? What are my perspectives right now? Like what am I experiencing internally right now in this moment? That is the only thing that needs to be voiced and expressed in this moment. And for me, I was constantly thinking about, well, who was I? Like, when I last saw this person, what did I say? What was I wearing? Like, all this extra shit. I'm like, girl, stay in the present moment. Or I'd be thinking of the future too much. And I'm like, okay, if I want to do this, I have to say this. If I want to do that, I have to represent this. Like, no, represent who you are right now in this moment. What are you experiencing in your internal world? That is what you are representing right now in this moment. That is what you are voicing right now in this moment. And even before I sat down to record this, I was like, okay, we're going to talk about voicing your internal world. And before I made that decision, I was like, yo, I don't even want to do this. Like, I don't feel like I got the kind of energy to do this right now because I want to do other things today. And there's so many other responsibilities that I have to take care of today. I'm like, yo, let's take a moment to breathe and acknowledge that whatever else I have to do today, I'm going to do it. That's it. But I also want to be able to stay consistent with my podcast. I want to stay consistent with creating and showing up for myself and showing up for you guys, right? So I had to take that moment to acknowledge that I don't need to express and create a voice for all of these other ideas and everything else that I want to do today. I just need to create a voice for what I want to do right now, for my ideas right now, for my creative energy right now, for how I'm feeling right now. It's not this whole, difficult, confusing aspect, because it's just acknowledging your internal world as it is in the present moment and expressing it however you feel comfortable expressing it in the present moment. Like, for me, because I'm so multidisciplinary, it's like there's so many ways that I can express things, and sometimes that used to confuse me because I'm like, okay, well, I have this idea or I have this feeling, but I don't know what to use to express it. And sometimes I would force myself to do it through music or force myself to do it through writing and all of these things, and I would lose that sense of passion because that wasn't the way that I actually wanted to express it. Sometimes for me to express it, I just have to move my body a little bit, like put some music and dance around. That's that form of expression and voicing my internal world in that moment. And maybe the next day or a couple hours later, it's me sitting down and writing something, right? It's gonna constantly change. And the good thing about voicing your internal world is that there's so many ways that you can do it, but you just have to understand, well, what do I need right now? And for us to be able to acknowledge that and understand what do I need right now, we need to acknowledge who we are. We need to take that time and that space for ourselves, to understand ourselves, to hone in the aspects of us that sometimes we might ignore or kind of put in the back burner because we want to help other people, or we want to be there for other people. Well, if you truly want to be there for other people and help other people and love the world and change the world, how are you going to do it? What feels right for you in a fulfilled way that's not just you saying or thinking like, oh, this guy did this to change the world, so I'm going to do the same thing. You don't have to do the same thing. find out what is it that I want, what is it that helps me, what is it that I need, what is it that allows me to express my internal world right now in this moment. And once you find that, you're going to find, how am I going to change the world? Because when we have this passion for things, whether it's, helping humanity or music or whatever it may be, it's like we're going to feel, we might feel pulled to do the things that everyone else is doing in those same aspects, because we're like, oh, they're successful, so let me try that. You can give it a try, but that doesn't mean that you have to stick with it. You can change things up, you can do things differently. It's just holding that passion, holding that vision, and understanding that the only way for me to reach this, the only way for me to really use this energy in my life, I have to understand my internal world so that I can express authentically, so that I can know all the secret cheat codes for my voice box and use it to express in a way that is creative, in a way that is artistic, in a way that matches my internal world. And so everyone is so different because everyone's internal world is different. I'm a true believer that we're not meant to be following these trends. We're not meant to be following social media standards and whatever the hell be going on out here, like on the internet and all that. It's like, we are not meant to be doing that. We're meant to create an individual voice for our individual worlds. And every individual world is completely different from the next. Like, yeah, we can have certain things in our worlds that are similar. Like maybe I have a magical little tree and unicorn in mine and you have one too. But that doesn't mean that we're the same. That doesn't mean that we have to walk the same path. That doesn't mean that we need to speak the same way or express the same or create the same or dress the same way. Like, do things that really match with who you are internally. And once you do that, you're on the right authentic path. You're exactly where you need to be. Sorry, there was a little technical issue right there. But as I was stating, it's like, if you're going hiking, you're going to need the right shoes, right? So whatever path you are walking on, you need to walk in your shoes that are literally made for you to walk in that path. You cannot go and ask for someone else's shoes and be like, oh, can I walk in your shoes for today? Because I can't find mine. I can't figure out my size. I can't figure out, what kind of shoes that I need. You need to pay attention to where you are. What is your internal world telling you? What is your internal world motioning you towards? And that's going to tell you what kind of shoes you need to walk in order for you to accomplish that trail or accomplish whatever path you're walking on. You cannot substitute your shoes and what was created for you to put on someone else's and do what they're doing or walk the way that they walk when it's not going to fit in with your path. So with that being stated, it's like, we need to take that time to understand who we are and what really matters, which is your internal world and your internal self, in order for us to accomplish the path that we are walking on. We're always going to be faced with these trials and tribulations, but that's not something that can stop you. Only you can stop you, right? If you need those moments to rest and kind of recoup yourself and check your backpack to see if you still got all your tools for your hike, go ahead and do that, but do not set up camp and stay there for the rest of your life, because the rest of the trail, the rest of the path, it's still there waiting for you to walk it, but you're not taking the energy and the time to actually, walk on it. You're not taking the efforts to do so. So you are always in control of what you do and how you voice your internal world. And sometimes voicing that internal world is you being silent. You know what I'm saying? Like, in those moments of rest, we might take that time to just stay within our energy, stay within our peace. Okay, you go on ahead and do that. That's your form of expressing your internal world. And other times, people might voice their internal world by being bold, by going out and screaming or just expressing in a loud way that everyone is going to notice. And that's okay too. These technical difficulties coming in real quick today. But as I was saying, and it's even okay if you don't know where your path is headed or how to walk that path, or you feel you're not strong enough to go over that hill. It's okay. You need to break in your shoes first. It's like when you're walking through this path of whatever twists and turns and forks on a road and whatever trials and tribulations there are, for you to accomplish it, for you to reach the top, you have to take those moments where you're breaking in your shoe, where you're stretching them, where you're understanding, well, where is it hurting me? Where is it too tight? What do I need to let go of? Sometimes when we're going on hikes and it's a hard one, we need to take some things out of that book bag. What can I let go of to alleviate the path that I'm walking on, to allow me to regain my strength, to allow me to have the right energy and the right force and the right sense of self to reach where I'm going. So it's not that you have to have everything like right then and there, like, and know exactly what voice you have or how to express it, right? It's You have to take that time to understand, what is my internal life like? What is my internal world like? So that I can accomplish everything that I face, so that I can understand in those moments when I feel overwhelmed, in those moments when I feel tired or weak, how can I lessen that weight? How can I help myself? We're not going to know if we're constantly following everyone else's regimen, right? You have to create your own sense of expression, your own sense of healing, your own sense of resting, and whatever else comes forward for you. Just take that time for yourself, man. The fuck? Like, if you get anything from this episode, it's literally to take the time to understand yourself and your internal world, because your internal world is a is your home, basically, right? And you don't want all this dust and all these little critters and things in your home. No, you want it to be comfortable for you. You want it to match your idea of self, your idea of expression. You want it to be an expression of who you are. But you have to take the time. You cannot ignore yourself. You cannot ignore your mental health. You cannot ignore your internal world. You cannot ignore who you are. Step into who you are. Take accountability for who you are. Take those steps into becoming more comfortable and more in tune with who you are, and more in tune with your walk, so that when you're going down this path, it becomes easier. You're not tripping over rocks. You're not, having splinters on your toes and your ankles and all these things, because you took the time to nourish yourself. You took the time to understand what works for me. Ugh. Y'all be out of breath like a motherfucker. But that's somewhat really what I wanted to talk about today. And today's EP is not going to be that long, to be honest, because I don't know, I feel like not much needs to be said. Everything that I've said, and I'm sure I've inspired some thoughts in your mind as well to kind of reflect that's going to be long enough. That's going to be a good chunk of the extent of the rest of whatever you do, right? I want you to leave these EPs with a question in mind. So before I do end it, I want to ask you, in what ways do you express your internal world? I want you to write it down every way, whether it's a hobby, whether it's with other people, whatever it may be. How do you express your internal world? And how are you taking those steps to understanding your internal world? Because we can't express our internal world if we don't understand it, right? It's like you trying to translate a book that's in a different language. You're never going to be able to read it if you don't take time to study that language, study the writing, study the background. Where is it coming from? You need to study yourself before you try to translate what's going on within you. Okay. Let's get some snaps in here for that, because that's the one right there. That's the phrase right there. You need to study yourself before you try to translate. Yeah, let them know. And yeah, man, like, you got this. You've got this. We got this. It's not easy, but you can make it easier for yourself. Just go with the flow. Don't go against the current. Don't walk back up don't turn around on your path and go back the way you came from. Keep going forward. And if you need a moment to sit down and look around and acknowledge what's around you, do so. Okay, this is at your pace. This is your path. Regardless of how slow or how quickly you go, you're going to make it to the top. But acknowledge that if you go too fast, you're going to lose energy, you're going to lose strength, and most likely you're probably not going to make it to the top as quickly as you might be wanting to in that moment. So go at a nice pace that works for you, but also don't overdo yourself. Make sure you're keeping that balance of resting, of acknowledging what you need. Listen to your mind, body, soul, and spirit, because I swear, y'all, like, lately I've been doing that, trying to listen to my body, trying to listen to what my body and my mind is telling me, because they're telling me everything that I need. And everything that I need are things that I'm capable of giving to myself, right? But we're not going to know unless we listen to ourselves, listen to that internal world, because that internal voice is telling you, that internal world is telling you how to voice it, how to give it a voice, how to give it words, how to give it an expression, how to give it life in this physical form, right? Everything you create is a voice, is a mirror to your internal world. So pay attention to that world, care for that world, nurture it, hold space to sit in your world. Okay? Fuck whatever else anyone else is doing. To be honest, that doesn't really matter. Like to an extent, it doesn't matter, because what really matters in your life and in your experience is your internal world. That is what we are constantly working on building. That is what we are constantly working on nourishing and creating, so that it is at a good space and capacity where we can share it with the rest of the world. Your internal world is magical. You are magical. Your soul is magical. Everything you have to offer is magical as fuck. And it is needed very much. Okay, so don't doubt yourself just because you're not understanding what your internal world is telling you. Don't beat yourself up for that. It takes time to study yourself. It takes time to learn a new language. So it's going to take time for you to learn what is your internal world telling you, because it is speaking at a different frequency and different vibration than what most of our mindsets and conditionings and viewpoints are speaking in. So it's gonna take time, and you need to be willing to give yourself that time so that you can grow, so that you can heal, so that you can build the space that you want to build, that is going to be healthy for you, that is going to lead to that sense of success. For me, success is when you are in alignment with that internal world. That is success, because what you hold within you is valuable as fuck. Whether you've expressed it or not, it is valuable. So those ideas that you always have, those thoughts that you always have where you want to make something or express something, and you're telling yourself you can't, you better sit the fuck down. Sit the fuck down and tell yourself you can. 100,000%. And the reason why you're getting these ideas, that is your internal voice telling you, this is what we need to do. This is how we need to express. This is how we're going to get our internal world into this physical world. Okay? Only you can do that. You are the bridge. You are the bridge between that gap of your internal world and the physical world. You are literally the bridge. No one else can speak for you. No one else can translate your internal world. Only you can do that. So I need you to do that. I need you to stop making excuses for yourself and stop telling yourself that you can't do this, that you don't have what it takes, or you don't have what you need. All that you need is your internal world, your ideas. All you need is your ideas, your creativity, your energy, your perspectives. That is all a reflection of your internal world, and your internal world is all that you need. Bitch, that's fucking it. I'll be telling y'all, stop playing around with these motherfuckers. Stop playing with yourself. Stop. You're really setting yourself up right now. So if you're going to set yourself up for success, for love, for abundance, for good things in your life, okay? I love you guys so much. I'm going to head out before I really turn to somebody's mama and start lecturing you for real. But, I really hope that we got something from this. Again, the question for today's EP is, or for the rest of the week, this weekend, I want you to reflect on this question, write it down somewhere, talk about it to somebody, something, reflect on it, okay? It's, in what ways do you voice your internal world? In what ways do you express your internal world? And are you taking the time to understand your internal world? Are you taking the time to reflect on what is the makeup of your internal world? Right? I love you so much. I hope you have an amazing morning, day, evening, night, whatever it may be for you. Because you, my beautiful, fucking, incredible star, you are deserving of the best and only the best things the universe has to offer, okay? And I'm going to repeat that every week, every motherfucking day. I need you to remember it. I need you to believe that, because it is true. Yes, you are valuable and you are worthy. I love you. See you next week, or whenever I see you. Peace.